Hi, Portland Fire and Rescue. I'm Jessica Cohn, your Health Wellness Coordinator. So today we're going to review how to use 1 to 2 tennis balls or lacrosse balls to foam roll your shoulders. So normally we use a foam roller for our shoulders, our back, our legs. We're going to get a little bit deeper into those muscles and massaging them with a tennis ball or lacrosse ball. So this type of rolling, also known as kneading or smashing, is known as SMR, which is self-mouth fascial release. Basically, what we're doing is giving ourselves a massage, so a self-massage. If you know you're gonna be really tight in the shoulder, I recommend going to a tennis ball or a softer ball just so that it won't dig in as deep. I'll give you some options of what you can do there. Or you go to a harder ball like the lacrosse ball. We're going to start with 2. So what you want to also have is a sock. And we're going to create what's called a peanut. So you can tape the balls together. I like to use a sock. That way if I want to just use one ball, I can do that. So that I can either have 2 in a sock or 1. And that way too, if the tape gets all kind of gross, you just use the sock and you can wash the sock. So it creates the peanut. I'm going to put these to the side because I'm going to use the lacrosse ball. So we're going to start with rolling our upper trap muscles. So you're going to take the peanut and place it right in your upper trap muscles. Then you're going to lay on your back, pushing that ball down between your scapulas, and use your feet, kind of like a little glute bridge, to push and roll you up so that you're laying on top right with the spine in between the 2 balls. And a lot of times people will do this and they'll be like, ooh, they'll feel it really digging in. So just try to relax. We're going to put our arms by our sides, thumbs up. You're going to reach over your head as straight as you can. And the goal here is slowly move back and forth about 10 to 20 times. You might be just here and feel the tension is too much. You want the discomfort to be about a 4 to 6 and not go too much beyond that. Because a lot of times if it's too excruciating, our muscles will tense up and they'll kind of fight relaxing. And we want to allow them to relax. So hopefully through digging in and kneading, smashing into the muscle there, and using our arms to create range of motion within the shoulder, you should feel it start to hopefully relax, and you can bring those arms further overhead. If it's too much, go to the tennis balls. Another option, if you don't have tennis balls, is put your yoga mat over on top of the balls. That way it will create a softer surface for you. Now you're going to go over your hip and go out to a Y position. And we cross our hands over the hip out to a Y. And you're again trying to keep the arms as straight as you can. You could also just go to like a T position, kind of play around with different angles of that arm, and definitely hold and dig in if you feel tighter. If you raise your booty up, that'll really push you into the ball and dig in. A lot of times that might be too intense. So just try to take deep breaths and relax. So a lot of times I'll recommend doing this even if people have pain in the front or different areas of the shoulder. There's a lot of muscles going into your shoulder. Everything's connected. And a lot of times you'll be tight in the back of your shoulder, in your traps, or we're even going to later work on our rotator cuff muscles, but you'll feel pain in the front. And it's just radiating pain created by tension, inflammation in another area. Now we're going to do waving, so go by your sides, palms up. You're going to reach and wave over your head and back down. Same thing here. You might feel like you can only go maybe just to that Y position. Just do the best you can. Really digging in. After about 10 to 20 here, a couple options is to work a little bit further or lower on the back, but up higher, and you can dig in and go back through the arms by the sides overhead 10 to 20 times, crossing over to Y, and just trying to find spots that feel like knots in the muscle. And what we're trying to do here is dig into those knots to get them to loosen up and relax, so then we can stretch and elongate the muscle. So example I use is if you have a chain or a band and you tie a knot in it and you pull the knot or stretch it, you won't be able to get the knot out. A lot of times if we have like a necklace, we have to dig in and then we're able to release it. And that's the idea that we're doing with the balls, digging into those knots in our muscle. So now we're gonna go to a muscle called the infraspinatus. It's one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles. It's right here. If you have the spine of your scapula, we're going directly under the spine of our scapula. You can use 1 or 2 balls on this. I'm gonna go ahead and just use 2. I'm gonna come under my armpit and place the ball right in that meaty spot under the spine. It's a little bit tough area to find, so you just gotta kind of play around, but you'll know when you're there in that meatier portion. It's a pretty sore little muscle. Try to lean to this side, the same side that the ball is on. I use this other arm or hand to hold my head just so it can help, relieve any stress on my neck. So now, same idea what we just did in the trap is we're gonna go down by our side and reach up overhead. Just try to take deep breaths. This one might be a lot more intense, so go as far as you're able and just kind of slowly work in. If the tension's too much, you need to go to maybe several socks to soften it to the tennis ball, or like I mentioned, put the yoga mat over the ball. And we're just trying to really work into that muscle to get it to relax. Deep breaths. After about 10 to 20, go over the hip, out to the Y position, hip, out to Y. And a lot of times I'll lose the spot, so I might try to find another area that I can dig into, especially if I feel that tension relax and release a little bit. Deep breaths. And then go to the waving over your head, down by your side. Try and keep close to the ground as best you can. And the tennis ball and lacrosse ball is just a cheaper option that we can go for, that we can buy from anywhere. There's a lot of neat rolling type devices or smashing, kneading type devices that you can get online. Even balls with like flatter surfaces so they won't move around too much. You can get them for about $20 to $30 through Rogue Fitness or Amazon. Now, same area, so I'm still in that infraspinatus area. I'm going to go a little bit more to my side, and I'm just going to use 1 ball here versus the other portion of the peanut just out to the side. And I'm going to do some internal, external rotation. So elbow right up in front, find that sore area, and then just rotate back and forth, nice and slow. Digging in, trying to relax. And again, if this is too intense to do this right here, you may need to just kind of find those tight spots and just kind of slowly rock back and forth, digging in. And that tension may not go away much today. You got to continually do this to notice improvement. And I find too, as soon as I do an upper body day, especially like a bench press or push-up type day, my shoulders really get inflamed again, and I got to continue to do this to get that inflammation out. So, infraspinatus, one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles. Now we're going to work in what's called your teres minor. It's a very small little muscle that just connects right in here, right under where your big latissimus dorsi comes in. And you'll want just 1 ball probably for this one. This is a tougher area to find, but it's similar to the infraspinatus. Once you find it, you will definitely know. If I have no mat and I'm pushing into a harder ground too, that'll really push in. So that's another way to make it a little bit nicer, is just find a softer, foamier mat. So you're in the armpit, you're gonna go a little bit to the outside of the armpit to find that little spot, and you'll know when you find it. It's just right outside the armpit. There's like a little dip right there, kind of right against that scapula. When you find this spot, it's pretty intense, so I would recommend just deep breaths, try to relax and dig in. You might just need to sit here 1 to 2 minutes. You could try to do some range of motion if you're able. The other option is to bring forward and try to do that internal, external rotation again. This is an intense one, so you might just need to sit on it or lay on it. Deep breaths, just like yoga, trying to relax. And even here, I'm hitting over that 6 on my discomfort, so it might be best just to kind of lay in and relax in there. All right, so a couple minutes on that muscle. Then we're gonna work into now our pec major and minor. So we have a large pec muscle that comes up into the shoulder and then just a little pec minor muscle. How you kind of find this spot, if you put your hand behind your back with your palm out, there's like a little hole kind of feeling right here within your shoulder. And basically take your thumb and just kind of push in, and you could even do it with the ball. Start it like kind of lower on the shoulder there towards the chest and kind of push in, and you will find this spot as well. There's real sore areas in there. A lot of times it's from us being on a computer or phones or in this type of posture all the time. So loosening up these muscles will help, but they're really tight, so it takes a lot of work. So you're gonna lie on your stomach. You can also do this against a wall, like in a corner, but what we're gonna do is lie on our stomach. You're gonna find those areas that are tight and then just dig in and hold. And you can just kind of rock back and forth, similar to what we were doing with the teres minor. If you feel like you're able, you try to do some range of motion as you're digging in. This is, again, can be intense, so you might not wanna move the arm yet. You wanna work towards it or just go to a softer option. But ideally, I wanna try to work the hand behind the back, palm up, and slowly maneuver back and just kind of work in to that muscle. Couple minutes in this area, trying to do some movement. And this is where if you go to a wall and standing, you can lessen that pressure digging in. So the last area I want to hit is the 4th rotator cuff muscle, which is the supraspinatus. And so what we're going to do for that is go to a corner in a standing position. So we'll go ahead and move on to that right now. So now I'm going to go over how to dig more into that upper trap and more specifically your supraspinatus, which is above one of your 4 rotator cuff muscles that's above the spine of the scapula. So if you deal with any pain that kind of radiates up the neck or down, this is a good area to try and target. A lot of times if I sleep funny, I'll dig into here. So you want to find a sturdy spot, like a corner or an upright rack is really great, especially because it gives me the holes for the pegs for the like bench pressing, where it kind of gives a spot where it won't roll around so much. So find a lower spot, get to a good lunge stance. I'm going to bend down and press right into that area. And you got to get pretty low on it so that you can put your weight and angle yourself in towards the wall or the upright. And you might just want to sit here and just kind of rock yourself back and forth over the ball. If you're able, maybe drop your arm and do some circles, a few in each direction. And then more ideal is to work towards movement, internal rotation, where your palm is up behind your back and you even reach out to like a T and just go back and forth 10 to 20 times. And this is really good for anyone that comes to me just with radiating pain up the neck, especially if you sleep funny or something like that. It's a good area to dig into. So as always, if you have any shoulder inflammation or pain, if anyone comes to me, I always say lacrosse ball, roll it out. This is a great video for you to do, but you can definitely email me at jessica.cohn@portlandoregon.gov, especially if you find that the rolling isn't helping what you have going on, and hopefully we can find something else to help you out. All right, have a great day. Thank you.